Now via Zoom, Kabir Adamu. He is the Managing Director of Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited. He's also a security expert. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning, Mr. Adamu.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you. Well, jungle justice, or would I say mob justice, is a serious issue stemming from a perceived lack of faith in the country's legal system, which has led to, citizens taking laws into their own hand. This is not the first time that we have witnessed this kind of situation, but it's definitely a time to, nip this situation in the bud. Who should bear the responsibility for this?
Well, the government. And perhaps they would even make arrest, hand over to the security agencies, and then, the persons are either not prosecuted or in certain instances are even released, and then they will come back and, perpetrate the same criminality or even worse criminality than what they had done previously. There are several instances of that. And so because of that, the element of self-help has crept into our national security architecture. I doubt if there is any community today that you don't have some form of vigilante. I also doubt if there is any state in Nigeria out of the 36 states that do not have one or the other form of vigilante. This is a reflection, unfortunately, of the lack of trust, just like you've described, in our public security agencies. Now, the biggest challenge, I don't see the proliferation as a major issue. What is the issue is our lack of the ability that we've not had in the past to manage this proliferation. The law recognizes that these states, these local governments, these communities can create vigilantes, but they must come under some form of supervision by a federal security agency, in particular the police. So that supervision, I would say, has failed essentially. If we had done the right thing, they would have come under the community policing element. Their recruitment, their training, the knowledge of especially their power to arrest and never to judge would have been, supervised adequately. But today, a lot of them don't even understand that they don't have the power to prosecute, as it were. So they arrest, they detain, and in certain instances they prosecute, just like we're discussing in Uromi. In several parts of the Northwest, they do the same thing. And then if we discuss even their profile, the way they recruit, the way they train, the type of weapons they're given to them, how they handle those weapons, the fact that there is no armory for those weapons. So these are all the challenges that, unfortunately, the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, have to an extent failed to manage properly. By now, the element or the issue of decentralization of security would have been addressed in our country, but we are yet to do that. The reality is that as at now, we only recognize federal security agencies. Any other security outside that federal agency, as far as the Constitution is concerned, is illegal. I know the argument will be, well, state legislatures have backed some of these creations, but the reality is that the federal Constitution only recognizes those federal security agencies. So as a country, the legislature would need to come to terms with that reality and say, this is the direction that we should go. We've left it undecided at the moment.
Okay, Mr. Adamu, talking about the legislature coming in to look at our books. Now, we used to have a system where we have traditional rulers in place, and like what happened in Uromi, for instance, if such suspected people were arrested, why didn't they take them to the traditional rulers? Was it that we have lost confidence in our traditional rulers, that they cannot handle issues, that people will not take to jungle justice, even if you don't have confidence in the police? How about taking them to the traditional rulers? So how do we bring back our traditional rulers, talking about the new face of security, of policing in Nigeria, so that we'll also have them play their own traditional role in helping to secure our communities?
Earlier on, your colleague referred to the failure of the legal system. And so, there's the whole range of legal systems, if I describe it as that, which includes the traditional legal system. And I think we've come to a time in Nigeria where the entire system, both the formal one and the informal one, have to a large extent failed. And there are so many reasons for that. The reality is that it has failed. And so there is a current conversation within the National Assembly to give some element of authority to our traditional rulers. Whether that would solve this challenge or not, unfortunately, only time would tell. There are several other systems too that we used to have in place for addressing dispute as a country that were not necessarily the formal system like the court. Also, those systems have failed clearly if people resort to jungle justice of the most barbaric manner. And I think this is the element that a lot of people don't understand. The use of fire to mete out justice, especially in the Muslim world, is something that is totally not acceptable and not condemnable. Perhaps if it were other forms, maybe the type of sentiments that you are seeing